Welcome to the Difference Makers, where we highlight people shaping our communities, our state, and our future and put them right into your living room for you to look at and just to see the individuals. I'm so excited today because today we're diving into politics, engagement, and what it takes to energize voters in critical election cycle. Joining us is someone with a deep experience at both the state and national level. He's worked on multiple presidential campaigns, served in senior leadership roles in government, and most recently as the executive director and now chairman of the best state in the entire union, the state of North Carolina Republican Party. Please welcome Mr. Jason Simmons. Now, before I turn the mic over to Jason, let me tell you something about him. He's extremely impressive. Jason Simmons brings years of political and leadership experience to the table, from serving as North Carolina State Director from 2016 on the Trump campaign to overseeing multi-state operations in 2020 as a regional political director for the Trump victory, now President Trump's victory. Jason has been the center of major political movements all over North Carolina, but extended a ripple effect all over our country. Now, beyond campaigns, he served as both a state and federal government as a senior executive and previously served in the United States Army Reserves as a combat medic. Mr. Jason, you have my utmost respect for that. And mental health specialist. Jason holds a master's degree in internal studies, a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of South Carolina. But most important of all, he is a husband and father of two daughters and continues to play a key role in shaping the political engagement all across North Carolina. Now, Jason, I give you a few seconds to expand on that and know you're talking to thousands of North Carolinians. So go ahead, the floor is yours, sir.
No, appreciate that. That's a very kind and very voluminous introduction, so I appreciate it. It's great to be with you today, and especially to talk about this upcoming election cycle and, more importantly, what the Republican Party is doing to ensure victories this fall.
Yeah. Well, Jason, you've worked on campaigns at the highest level. What lessons from those experiences are shaping how Republicans approach this election in North Carolina?
Well, if you look at elections, there's no secret sauce. There's no silver bullet to any election. One, you've got to learn your lessons from cycle to cycle and see what's working, what's not working. But at the end of the day, it's brute force. It is hard work every day, being relentless and determined to get out that vote, protect the ballot, and making sure that we're doing our job on the ground to support our candidates. Our candidates are out there working hard, moving around the state, telling their story, talking to the voters, and more importantly, being able to ensure that their message is getting out. From the Republican Party perspective, we've got one job, and that's to elect Republicans. We get in our way sometimes with a lot of distractions, and
A little
so
bit.
look, sometimes, and so it's about removing those distractions and focusing on, again, that mission of electing Republicans by getting out the vote and protecting the ballot. It's talking to those voters every day and getting in front of them. And really, I talk about annoying them to action because sometimes it just takes that touch every day to get in front of those voters and remind them when the election is, where to go vote, but more importantly, who to go vote for.
One of the biggest challenges in politics today is voter engagement. I think you just brought that up. Now, how is the North Carolina GOP working to get more people involved and energize this cycle?
Yeah, it really, especially in a midterm election, where when you hold the White House, as we do in this upcoming midterm with President Trump, you're running against history. So in four occasions over the last 100+ years, has the individual party that holds the White House been able to hold and or make gains. And so we have that history to overcome. But we also have President Trump, who is a unique and a generational president who is going to continue to make sure that as a party and as our candidates, they're going to be well positioned going into this fall. And so from a party perspective, it's getting in front of those voters much earlier. It's talking to them, talking to especially those Trump voters who tend not to show up during the midterm elections, and making sure that they understand what's at stake both at the national and the state level, and having those conversations one person at a time. That's why I go back to there's no secret sauce, there's no silver bullet. It's that brute force where you are every day engaging with the voters of North Carolina, where you live and in your region, and talking to them about those issues that are so important, but also soliciting the feedback from them. Well, what is important to them, and understanding what is going to move those voters to action. Because a lot of times you see so much empathy, excuse me, just really an ambivalent voter who just is so apathetic to the voting process that they think that their votes don't count. And time again, we show, especially elections statewide, come down to hundreds of votes. And as we've seen in some elections, you're talking about dozens of votes. And so we want to make sure that the voters of North Carolina understand what's at stake, but more importantly, how important their vote is.
What are some of the strategies? I know one of the biggest voting things that we're trying to reach right now is our youth voters. But what strategies are you using to reach the younger voters and first-time voters across the state of North Carolina?
Yeah, you saw, especially this past election cycle, President Trump engaged a whole wide block of voters, younger voters who felt very disenfranchised by the system. What they saw, especially under Joe Biden in the 4 years of his
Right.
presidency, the American dream was out of reach. It wasn't even a concept that they thought was obtainable. And so President Trump talked to those voters, engaged with those voters, and we've got to make sure that we're doing our job engaging with those voters as well. And you've got to go where they're at. You can't anticipate that our same processes by which we've gone about trying to talk to voters is going to work. Well, again, the mechanics of elections don't really change. The methods, the platforms that we utilize do. And so it's understanding, the traditional media, your newspapers, your TV, that's not where your younger people are. They're on their mobile devices. They're in front of different platforms, and understanding what are those platforms, but more importantly, what are the messages that are going to move them to action. I remember the day after the election in 24, I'm going into the office early that next morning, 8 a.m., 8:30, and we've got a young man who's coming to our office looking for a Trump hat. He was the first time voter going to NC State. He wanted to show up on campus with his Trump hat on, showing who he supported and who his president was. And we've got to make sure that, again, we're on those college campuses and engaging with the younger voters, and especially the young 20-year-olds who are, now entering the workforce, and making sure that they understand that American dream is very obtainable, but it takes work. And if you're especially looking at Democrat policies, socialism, and what that means, you're never going to be able to achieve the American dream, because government is going to be the dictator of who is and is not going to have the goods and services.
No, I like our message. I love the Republican message. I love the policies that we put forth, and it's really getting them out to the people that's going to make a difference. So you're right. I like being bold this year. You've brought that up many, many times. Be bold, be different, don't be afraid. But now, grassroots. We've heard a lot about grassroots and grassroots efforts. Grassroots efforts have always been important. What does that look like in today compared to when you first started?
I don't think there's much difference, Alex. I mean, when you're talking about grassroots are the people who are out there knocking doors, making phone calls, putting out the yard signs. And so the grassroots, when I was cutting my teeth in Charlotte, is the same as cutting my teeth today as the NC GOP chair. It's the same hardworking men and women across our state, especially our precinct chairs, who are the determinant of how we succeed. When we are organized at the most local level and being able to engage the voters in their communities, at their doors, being able to have those conversations, as you talk about, just briefly, we've got to be able to open our mouth and talk to our friends, our neighbors, those that we go to church with, those that we work with. As Republicans, we oftentimes are more inclined to keep our opinions to ourselves where we've seen the Democrats, they've long ago abandoned civility. I'm not talking about being obnoxious, but I'm talking about being bold, being able to open your mouth and expressing why you are a Republican, why you are a conservative, but then also showing up and being able to support our candidates with a lot of that hard work that's needed to win elections, putting out those yard signs, knocking on the doors, making the phone calls, showing up at the polls, handing out the slate cards, and really engaging the voters of North Carolina. That's what it takes to win elections.
Basically, putting your pants on, putting your boots on, lacing them up, and going to work, as
Indeed.
my father, and I'm sure your father has said. Now, how important, and speaking, I know we leave boots on the ground, we knock on doors, we're doing all these things, but social media, digital media does have a voice in this fight. How important is the digital media and social media in modern campaigns? And how is this party adapting to that?
Yeah, it's critical, as mentioned before. I mean, the traditional means of being able to get in front of voters has definitely changed. The knocking on doors, making phone calls is still critical. But people, they always have their mobile device, and even the way that we watch TV is very different. Most people do not watch start to finish a live program. They record it, they skip through commercials. Uh,
Guilty.
the only live programming most people watch are sporting events. And so that's why you see, especially from a campaign perspective, they make significant investments in those live programming. But you seeing streaming devices and those platforms, but especially your mobile device, as really that entry point to a voter. And so it's finding again, what are those platforms? And there's a lot of the data and science behind it and digging in again, who are those voters that we need to reach out to? Across this state, we have 7.7 million voters. And you're going to talk about in a midterm election, 52% of those individuals showing up to vote. We need to know who they are, where they're at, but especially those individuals in those presidential years, where we have turnout at 72 to 75%. We have a whole block of voters that vote in those presidentials that don't vote in the midterms, and especially those Trump voters, 240, 250,000 of those individuals who we need to get in front of much earlier and talk to them, as well as getting on those mobile devices to again get in front and engage them, and also the different apps that are out there. Whether it's again Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, there are different platforms that we need to make sure that we are engaging the voters where they're at, and that's the most important thing anymore. Is we can't just expect the voters to come to us; we've got to go to them.
Well, we've mentioned a few things, and I'm not taking it easy on you. I'm throwing some pretty hard questions at you.
Please.
We've talked about door knocking. We've talked about mobilizing people on the ground. We've talked about internet and getting out in social media. But there's one thing that really pulls all those together, and that's having people to do that work, which is our volunteers. Now, what role does local volunteers and county organizations play in building the momentum for statewide and national races?
It's critical. I mean, the various clubs, the men's clubs, the women's clubs especially, and all of the associated clubs that are connected to the Republican Party, those are critical entry points for a lot of people. Being able to have them in a engaging and social environment, but especially being able to inform them, having our candidates getting in front of them at where they're at, and then our county parties, our district parties being able to help organize those efforts. But the clubs are real, in my opinion, critical infrastructure to our success. Being able to have an entry point that is more of a social environment for these individuals, but then we've got to be able to activate those individuals to action, to be able to have them engaged in those activities that we talk about. And so the more that we're able to welcome people into our party and especially be able to give them value. And that's what a lot of people are looking for when they're spending time doing anything. They want to know that how they're spending their time, their effort, their resources, and especially the most critical resource for people, their time, is being well spent. And so we need to make sure that we're providing value in return where we're talking to them about why what they're doing is so critical to an election and making sure that they understand it may seem very simple where we're asking you to stuff this envelope, but this envelope goes to make sure that we can fund or inform what's going on with our campaign efforts.
Now you've been all over North Carolina, extremely, extremely busy. I've seen you on the East Coast. I've seen you in the mountains. You wasn't with me when we was talking to the Fraternal Order of Police last week, but you was also in 20 other different places. In your travels, what issues are you really seeing that's resonating with most of North Carolina voters? What are the issues they're looking at?
Sure. At the end of the day, voters are very determined on how we are going as a country, how we are going as a state, really on those pocketbook issues, those kitchen table items. And so, as we look forward to this upcoming election cycle, being able to talk to the voters of North Carolina about Republican policies. We just passed tax day on April 15th. People are seeing higher tax returns because of the big, beautiful bill, the working family tax cut, which is allowing people to put more money into their pockets, being able to allow seniors no tax on Social Security, hardworking men and women, no tax on overtime, and especially no tax on tips. That adds more money back to individuals' pocketbooks, which our federal government and those policies have enacted state level, especially what our state legislative leaders have done in Raleigh, being able to continue to reduce the tax burden on individuals, putting money back into their pocketbooks, whether that's the individual rate or the corporate rate, and allowing businesses to be able to reinvest to grow business. You continue to see North Carolina rated number one year after year as the greatest place to do business, which has allowed a lot of people to come to our state. And we continue to see, and we'll see approximately another 100,000 people into our state, new voters from the 24 election to the 26 election. These are individuals that have come to our state because it's the greatest place to work, to live, to educate, to retire. We need to inform them why they came to North Carolina. Especially, you see a lot of people from New York, New Jersey, they're fleeing those blue states because those are miserable places to live. Public safety is awful. They come to North Carolina for a reason, and we want to make sure that they understand they've come here because it is Republican policies that have made business investments, individual tax rates low, but then the investments in our public safety and public schools.
Well, it's amazing how the other side, the people that are fighting against these policies and procedures, they want to take credit for that. They really do. And you know it. I see you smiling, but the proof is in the pudding. But for
Yeah.
someone, now you've worked across multiple states. What makes North Carolina really unique politically?
Well, we are really that state that a lot of people look at, whether it's we're center right, center left, a purple state, a red state, a pink state. What I continue to see, I mean, you look to the north of us and with Virginia and the struggles they're going through right now because they elected a Democrat governor and the policies that she's enacted on day one, where they're raising taxes, they're taking away our Second Amendment rights. You're going to see a whole new flux of people moving into our state because they're going to flee Virginia. You look at
Didn't
what,
she
go
didn't she
ahead.
say she was didn't she say she wasn't going to do that on the campaign trail?
You mean a Democrat lied? I'm shocked.
I'm just asking. I'm sorry. I interrupted you,
No,
Jason.
no,
Go ahead.
I mean, again, you see Democrats time and you see it whether it's with Roy Cooper or the Attorney General with Jeff Jackson, Don Davis. I mean, when they ran this past election cycle, they're running as really generic Republicans. You look at their ads; they're talking about public safety, a strong border, yet they do not, once in office, actually adhere to those policies. They're fighting President Trump on the border. They're fighting, with criminal justice reforms. They're allowing criminals back onto the street as opposed to worrying about the safety of our children, our women, our families across North Carolina. And you've seen the policies that have been in effect that allowed the horrific murder of Irina Zaruska because of Roy Cooper when he was governor and attorney general before. So it's just Democrats will tell you one thing, but when they get into office, they run to that far left and govern that way.
I was going to bring that up. One of my favorite things that you've done, Jason, was when that happened down in Charlotte. You were one of the first on the ground down there, and actually was a part of a news briefing down there, if I remember right, and faced that head on. And so we appreciate your service in that and your leadership. Now, for someone listening, who wants to get involved but doesn't know where to start or they what they can do, what would you tell them?
Well, I'd tell them to go to nc.gop and we can be able to find their local party, or just Google, their county and GOP, and you'll be able to find out where your party is, when they meet, and be able to get engaged. The biggest thing is showing up. We are going to welcome you with arms wide open if you say you want to help. There is no problem that we face as a political party that the answer isn't more people. So more people involved, more people engaged is critical to our success. You see it time and time again. 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. I'd like to see that flipped, where you see a lot of people involved and engaged to be able to do this heavy lift. When you're talking about 2,600 precincts, 100 counties, 14 districts, there's a lot of effort and a lot of need across our state to support our candidates. And the best way that they can do is just show up and say, hey, I'm here to help. And we will find an opportunity for them with their skill sets to best help our candidates and help our party.
I know a lot of people are saying we'll have a very low turnout. I don't buy that yet. I really don't. I know that to that mom and dad that's sitting at the table and they're able to start putting food on their table and gas in their gas tank and getting to work and they're safe and I don't have to worry about riots in the streets and the safety. Those policies and procedures are going to lead them to say they want to keep this. Now, in saying all that, looking ahead to Election Day, to you personally, what does success look like for the Republican Party in the state of North Carolina?
Well, it's winning. I mean, that is the ultimate measure by which the party is measured by. So we've got great candidates statewide, whether it's Michael Whatley running for U.S. Senate, and then our judicial races where we have an opportunity to replace the most absolute crazed liberal activist judge with Anita Earls. Representative Sarah Stevens is a great candidate who's out there, and more importantly, she's going to on the bench actually look and read what the Constitution says, both U.S. and North Carolina, and adhere to it, as opposed to legislate from the bench, which Anita Earls does. And then we have the opportunity to take out the last three Democrats on the Court of Appeals, and being able to have, again, great candidates with Craig Collins, Michael Burns, George Bell. And so you then look at our congressional races. You've got a great member of Congress in Representative Harrington. And then you look across, an opportunity to pick up with NC1 with Lori Buckout. There are races in front of us that we've got a real opportunity, but more importantly, we've got a job in front of us to make sure we're supporting our candidates. Because God bless those candidates who are willing to put their names out there and run. That is a huge commitment by them, but also by their families, and we need to make sure that we're here to support them in those efforts.
In ending, Jason, I'm going to leave the floor to you. To the thousands of people watching, what is your parting message and real good motivating technique to get people out where they need to go?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to join you. And again, from a Republican Party perspective, again, we have one job, and that's to elect Republicans. Everything else is a distraction. So make sure that we're focused on the task ahead of getting out the vote, protecting the ballot. That takes effort. And again, it takes the combined effort of all of us organizing and making sure that we're getting those volunteers and identified, but also trained, and then getting them involved. And again, talking to those voters across North Carolina why this election matters. As you talk about, there are great things for us to be able to talk to the voters of North Carolina about. Policies that have been enacted both at the federal level and state level, and making sure that we continue to have that determined effort. Because again, we've seen what the Democrats will do. You saw it under Joe Biden. We see it right now with Abigail Spanberg in Virginia. When Democrats get in office, they make life hard. They want to go ahead and have total control the Republican Party, we want you to be involved. We want you to be involved in the decisions of your life and that of your family, not the government. And so we want to make sure that we're getting out there and supporting our candidates and electing great Republicans up and down the ballot.
Jason, I really appreciate you, and I know the voters and everyone else is watching you here. Some of them meeting you for the first time. They appreciate you. We appreciate you taking the time to join us and share your insights on leadership, engagement, and the future of politics here in the best state in the world, well, in the best country in the world, the best state in the United States, the great state of North Carolina. And to our listeners out there, remember, no matter where you stand, being informed and being involved is what keeps our community strong. And we're going to build this back stronger than ever. So God bless everybody. This is the Difference Makers. I'm Alex Nelson. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Old man out.